Hi everyone, I'm Henry Acosta for Health Professional Radio. Our guest on today's show is Matthew Hoskin, CEO of Sienna Cancer Diagnostics. Matthew has over 20 years of experience in the biotech and healthcare sectors, leading and helping businesses like Siemens Medical, Leica Biosystems, and Hospira grow and get to the next level. He's with us today to talk about the company he's running right now, Sienna Cancer Diagnostics, so we can learn more about what they do and how they help people around the world with their high-quality products. With all that said, welcome to the show, Matthew. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thanks very much, Henry. Thank you for having me.
So can you tell me about Sienna and the technology that the company is built on?
Sure. Well, Sienna is a Melbourne-headquartered medical technology company that develops and commercializes in vitro diagnostic tests to assist in the early diagnosis of cancer. And the first product that was developed and brought to market by Sienna is actually the first in vitro diagnostic test to detect the biomarker telomerase. And telomerase has been long recognised for its role in cancer. In fact, it's used by around 85% of cancers to enable immortal cell replication. And that occurs through the role telomerase plays in the repair of chromosome ends known as telomeres. And ordinarily, those cell telomeres shorten with each successive cell division until the cell undergoes senescence and eventually dies. And telomerase counteracts this telomere shortening process by adding new telomeric repeat sequences, effectively repairing the end of the telomere. And the discovery of telomerase and its role in cellular immortality actually resulted in the 2009 Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for Elizabeth Blackburn and her colleagues. So quite a remarkable biomarker that we're testing for.
Can you tell us more about what Sienna Cancer Diagnostics is doing right now and where do you guys do it?
Sure. So while telomerase is now quite well understood, there's never been a clinical diagnostic test available to detect its presence in specific cells of interest, and that's what Sienna's been working on. And so Sienna has now developed, and it's got an immunocytochemistry test for human cytological samples to detect HTERT, which is the reverse transcriptase component of telomerase, which is responsible for the catalytic activity of telomerase. And there are some highly proliferative cells in the human body, such as neutrophils, lymphocytes, for which it's normal to find telomerase, but other cells, such as epithelial cells that are not expected to contain telomerase, the detection of that biomarker in those cell types provides additional clinical information to the diagnosing physician.
Can you tell us a little bit more about who benefits from what we're talking about today?
Well, the first application of Sienna's IVD test is as an adjunct to urine cytology to assist in the diagnosis of bladder cancer. So urine cytology is the standard non-invasive test to investigate whether a patient may have bladder cancer, with confirmatory diagnosis usually being made by the more invasive and expensive and frankly painful test called cystoscopy, where a tube is inserted through the urethra and into the bladder so the urologist can examine the bladder wall visually. But urine cytology involves simply taking a urine sample for examination. The trouble with it is that alone it's notoriously poor in sensitivity, especially in low-grade disease. So early stage or low-grade disease is difficult to detect because the urothelial cells, or the cells from the lining of the bladder being examined under the pathologist's microscope, may be cancerous, but if the cells still have a morphologically normal appearance, or perhaps just a slightly atypical size and shape, then there's little or nothing to differentiate them from normal cells, and the test may be falsely reported as negative or normal.
I see. And with regards to the research, how has the testing helped improve the results?
Well, so taking urothelial cells from the same urine samples collected for regular urine cytology and examining them for the presence of telomerase using the Sienna test, that provides a diagnosing urologist with useful adjunct information regarding those cells that have been shed from the bladder wall. So if there's telomerase presence, that could be caused by early-stage cancer where the cell has upregulated telomerase as part of that malignant process.
How is this relevant to our listeners, particularly to the health professionals right now?
So our immunocytochemistry test for telomerase, it's listed as a Class 1 IVD with the US FDA. It's commercially available in the USA, where it's already being used in substantial volume. and it's also been CE marked and IVD registered in the European Union. But importantly for your audience, this new diagnostic test is now registered as a Class 2 IVD with the TGA in Australia. So that means it's now available for pathology labs in Australia to offer as an adjunct test to run on urine samples that are sent to the lab for urine cytology analysis. And it's Sienna's hope that urologists across Australia will start to make use of the additional diagnostic information this test can offer them when they're investigating whether their patient has bladder cancer. And there's a significant unmet clinical need here that we hope our test will help to fill.
Wow, and can you tell us a little bit more about the current news around the industry that you're handling, since it's not just the medical, but also stocks and all that? So what's currently happening around Sienna Cancer Diagnostics?
Well, right now, Sienna's undertaking a major transformation of the business in that we're seeking a listing on the Australian Stock Exchange through an IPO. So the IPO is being done to raise $6 million in order to fund the company's growth initiatives over the next couple of years. That will involve driving clinical uptake and usage in the regions we've already launched, expanding geographically and launching the product into new countries through additional distribution partners, and expanding the clinical applications of the test into additional cancer types beyond bladder cancer. So while our initial focus has been in the area of bladder cancer, telomerase is a biomarker found in 85% of cancers. So our R&D team are working on developing protocols to detect it in the cells of other sample types beyond urine. And we'll also be starting the search for additional biomarker technologies to acquire or in-license to build our future product pipeline.
So currently, what are the biggest misconceptions that you usually get inquired about?
So I wouldn't say there's much misconception out there about Sienna. I'd say it's more a case that we're not yet known at all. Our product is a brand new test that is first in market with little currently known about it. So our challenge is getting the message out. We believe the test has tremendous potential both in the already established application of bladder cancer, but also in a broad range of cytology and possibly even tissue-based applications that R&D team are working on.
Yeah, and for anyone interested in learning more about Sienna Cancer Diagnostics, what's the best way to get in touch with you guys?
Probably the website has the most information, and certainly for anyone interested in the IPO itself, the offer is currently open, although it is filling quickly. So if people are interested in getting on board through the IPO process, they can find more information, get a copy of the prospectus, and even apply for shares through the Sienna IPO website, which is at www.siennadiagnostics.com.au/IPO.
Awesome, man. Yeah, for our last question, what would be your main takeaway message for all our listeners right now?
Sienna is very excited to be bringing the first IVD test for clinical use for this biomarker that has been known about for quite some time in telomerase, and getting that first product to market into the hands of clinicians where it will hopefully make a difference has been our goal. And now that has finally happened, we're very excited to be taking this next step as a company.
Well, yeah, congratulations, and we wish you all the best of luck. And yeah, thank you for coming on the show, Matthew.
Thanks very much, Henry.
And that was Matthew Hoskin, CEO of Sienna Cancer Diagnostics. We just finished talking about Sienna and their impact in the medical industry around the world. If you've missed this interview or you want to hear more about health-related discussions, you can visit us on www.hpr.fm. For updates, like us and subscribe to us on YouTube and all social media platforms. Once again, I'm Henry Acosta, helping spread awareness on positivity and good health on Health Professional Radio.